Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize the Tathagata's true meaning. Okay, having quickly reviewed all of the main points in the Heart Sutra, let us look at the next lines. Great powerful mantra. Prajnaparamita is a great powerful mantra. It's a great enlightening mantra. So, it is a powerful mantra. Prajnaparamita is powerful. In what ways is it powerful? Well, Prajnaparamita is the mother of all Buddhas, meaning that all Buddhas become Buddhas because of this teaching. So that is powerful. It can turn an ordinary person into a fully enlightened Buddha. Yeah? Why? You may ask the question, why is it that this teaching, that Prajnaparamita, can turn an ordinary person into a Buddha? And I won't answer this question. This question ties together everything, all the teaching, all the main points in the Heart Sutra. See if you can agree with this. So, the power of prajna, wisdom, is self-enlightenment, bringing oneself to complete enlightenment. And the power of paramita, the perfection of this wisdom, can help enlighten others. So that is why Prajnaparamita is the mother of all Buddhas. That's possibly the greatest power. But we can be a little more specific. It is said in the Mahayana Sutras that the Buddha has many, many powers. And there are such lists as the 10 powers, the 4 fearlessness, and the 18 unique qualities of the Buddha. Unique qualities means that something that the Buddha can do, but nobody else. Any person less than the Buddha, like even advanced bodhisattvas, does not possess these 18 unique qualities. Now we won't go into all of them. That is a more advanced topic and we can talk about it for a whole year. But I would just list a few of these interesting ones. For example, among those powers of the Buddha, one is flawlessness in mindfulness, speech, and bodily action. So, we create karma through our thoughts, through our speech, through our physical action. Right? There's the 3 types of karmas. And if they are good karmas, they lead to, joy, happiness, blessing. If they are bad karma, meaning they harm others, then that lead to dukkha, suffering. Now the Buddha, one of the power of the Buddha is flawlessness in mindfulness, speech, and action. Now, to claim that is very, very difficult because the Buddha was a living person and he has so many followers. Anybody can see if the Buddha having claimed that he is flawless in these three areas, that he actually make a mistake. For example, when I talk, sometimes I misspeak. I say something I don't mean. Yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. Yeah, or when I walk, maybe when I'm not mindful, I will trip over. Yeah, you will never find that happening with the Buddha. So after Prince Siddhartha became a Buddha at the age of, say, 30, some say it's 30, for the next almost 50 years, he was in the limelight. He was a public figure. And anybody can check whether he was flawless. If not so obvious in how he thinks, that means, he will never forget something. He will never think of something that he shouldn't think of. He will never lose a moment of clarity, of mindfulness. But at least from his speech, from his action, anybody can see whether he was indeed flawless or not. Right? So that's one of the powers. And it comes from this continuous, perfect clarity of mind. Right? So that is possible for Buddha. And another power is undiminishing wisdom. Undiminishing wisdom. For example, we can learn a lot of things. We can gain a lot of experience and skill in things in life. But then as we get older, we may lose our skillfulness when we forget some of the things we know, that we learned. We may become less sharp in our wisdom. But at no point will the Buddha have diminished wisdom. And another power is unobstructed knowledge of the past, present, and future. What does that mean? Well, all of us know a little bit about our past, right? So you remember what happened yesterday? Maybe less 2 days ago, and even less from a week ago, and much less from a year ago, and much, much less from your childhood. Maybe you remember a few things from your childhood, but most of it you've forgotten. So when we try to recall our past, there's obstruction. There are hindrances I can't fully recall, even yesterday. But Buddha has no such obstructions. He can remember everything into the infinite past. And he can see everything in the present. So in the present moment, we see, we know, we are aware. But then there are many things we're not aware of. We maybe focus on this and then we miss that, right? And sometimes even when we are aware, we derive the wrong result. We have the wrong perception. We do that all the time, as things are happening in the present. But that will never happen to the Buddha. And the future. How can we know the future? Well, we do know a little bit about our future. Even as ordinary beings, right? You sort of know what you're going to do in the next few hours for the rest of the day. You sort of know if you're in school, when you're going to graduate, with what degree, yeah? If you're in college. So there are certain things about your future that you know more or less, but you don't know everything. There's much more you don't know, right? But the Buddha has no such obstruction. Now you may say, wait a minute. Are you saying that Buddha knows everything about the future? If so, doesn't that mean that the future is already determined? Does that mean that we are living in a deterministic world? If so, then what is the point of trying anything new, because the future is predetermined? Now, this is a tricky question. It's a very good question. Buddha knows all that can be known. Buddha knows all that can be known, but there are things that cannot be known. For example, your future. If Buddha wants to know, he can know. All the way to the infinite future. But that future is not deterministic, because at any moment you may change your mind. You can make a different decision. For example, I can decide to, in the next hour, to do meditation. I can decide in the next hour to study, to review the Heart Sutra. Or I can decide the next hour to play games for a whole hour. When you make these decisions, your future change. Your karma change. As soon as you make a decision, your future is changed. And Buddha's knowledge of your future will reflect that change. So in this way, this is explained clearly in the Buddhist scriptures. So in this way, Buddha knows the future, all of the future, but it is not deterministic. You can still change your future. We can still change our future at any moment. Another power is fearlessness in all debates and challenges. So Buddha claims that he is fully enlightened one. And a lot of people would come debate the Buddha, challenge the Buddha. That would be obvious, especially in Buddha's time, where in India there's so many religious teachers, so many spiritual teachers, so many gurus, so many philosophers. Okay, it's very vibrant philosophically. And a lot of people will come and challenge the Buddha. Now, if you have perfectly enlightened, you shouldn't be afraid, right? If we open ourselves up to anybody in this world to come challenge us in our knowledge, would you be afraid? Right? And Buddha has no such fear, because he knows he's able to perceive the flaws or the blind spots in all their arguments. Whatever you say to the Buddha is able to see through their inconsistency, their contradiction, their blind points. One of the power of the Buddha, knowing all forms of meditation. Now that is important. And that's incredible. All forms of meditation. And Buddha has taught us many, many, many types of meditation. What Shifu has taught so far is a very small fraction. Although they are important, but it's still a very small fraction of all the meditation methods you can discover in the Buddhist scriptures. Right? And he knows all the forms of meditation. He knows all the karma of self and others. He can see you and see your karma, what you have done, and why you are the way you are. Buddha knows all the capacities of all beings. So somebody comes to see the Buddha, Buddha can see through that person's capacities, strength, and shortcomings, and therefore determine what will be the best way to guide this person. So all of that sounds incredibly amazing, and maybe too incredible to believe, that's okay. You don't have to believe them now. But as we continue to practice and gain more clarity of mind, as we understand, as we immerse ourselves more deeply into Prajnaparamita, as we gain better and better understanding of the mind, better and better understanding of ourselves and therefore others, we'll begin to see that how these powers of the Buddha can be possible. They are possible. Okay? For example, think of all the incredible creations, inventions, talents, skills of human beings throughout history. Every one of us knows somebody, or at least heard of somebody, seen somebody perform some incredible feats. It could be an incredibly complex piece of music that they can perform. It could be incredible skills in something, yeah, and it could be incredible knowledge in something. You think of how people discover the properties and structure of atom, something so small that we cannot even see. But through pure intellect and observation, they can guess, they can understand, they can figure out the structure of something so small, and then eventually this knowledge affect how we live our everyday life. Think of all the technology machines that's invented. Think of all the incredible artwork that is created. How is it that these people can do these amazing things? Well, if you see that our mind is fundamentally equal in the sense that we have this knowing part of our mind, we have this conditionable part of our mind, and we condition our mind diligently, day after day. We have the potential to learn anything that any human being has ever been able to do. When you understand your mind better, you can see that all these incredible feats are not because of some people are just born different and just a different category of beings that I can never become. You begin to see, yeah, anything that they can do is possible. And from this, you can infer that Buddhahood and all the powers can be possible. It's not so out of this world. Okay? So in the end, every one of us have potential to become anyone with any skill or knowledge. Of course, it may take many lifetimes, but it is possible. And the highest attainment will be Buddhahood. Okay? And great enlightening mantra. So, we have already explained the different levels of enlightenment. So the Arhat's enlightenment, the Pratyeka Buddha's enlightenment, the Bodhisattva's enlightenment, the Buddha's enlightenment. If you know that you can achieve any one of these with effort, with the right effort, which one would you say your goal on? For me, the answer is obvious. Buddha's enlightenment, the unsurpassed, complete enlightenment. Anuttara Samyo Sambodhi. Why would I settle for anything less? Right? So it's a great enlightening mantra. It contains the system of teaching, the ways, the practice to achieve that. In fact, there is a teaching in Buddhism that is, all that is good comes from the Dharma. All that is good. That includes worldly good and super-worldly good. Worldly good means all the things that is good in this world. Kindness, people helping each other, people doing good deeds, justice, fairness, all that is good. Come from the Dharma too. And all that is good, super-worldly. Super-worldly means transcendent wisdom. Wisdom to transcend birth and death, transcend ordinary existence. That can bring you out of this endless cycle of rebirth, samsara. Okay, ending samsara. That's super-worldly good. And that's what Prajnaparamita is focused on. But our worldly good can also come from the Dharma. Now, how is that? Well, Buddhism does talk about 5 precepts and 10 good deeds. These basically cover worldly good. And that is basic. So that's something you can think about. Now, the mantra, Prajnaparamita, is a supreme and peerless mantra. That means no higher wisdom. So we don't need to, we already talked about that. And here, I would just present something that I really like. Is a song called Praise the Buddha Jewel. It is, the lyrics are from another Buddhist monk, Reverend Hensher. He is a Buddhist master from the City of 10,000 Buddhas monastery. And he adapted these lyrics from Chinese texts. In Chinese texts we have praises of the Buddha. So he adapted some of these into the lyrics for the song called Praise the Buddha Jewel. It is set to the tune of Amazing Grace, which is, I think, is one of the most beautiful religious songs ever. Okay, and I have the whole lyrics in the lecture notes. I will just start with the first part. Upon the earth, below the sky, the Buddha has no peer. In 10 directions everywhere, he is beyond compare. And there's more, I won't sing it, but it's so beautiful. I think it's a great song. So it is the peerless mantra because it brings us to this unsurpassed enlightenment. Okay, let us review what we learned in this talk. We covered the passages. Prajnaparamita is the great powerful mantra, the great enlightening mantra, the supreme and peerless mantra. Why is that? What is the power of Prajnaparamita? And we mentioned as an example some of the powers unique to the Buddha, which means we will have these powers as well, because they are inherent in our mind. It is like all the things you can do with gold once you extract pure gold from the gold mine. Once we purify our mind, these powers are natural So if we can achieve such great heights, all of us with our mind, why do we settle for anything less? Okay, let us make the dedication. May all of us who are studying the Prajnaparamita together have good health, have our bad karma lessened, removed, eradicated, and make progress in our spiritual practice toward enlightenment. And may all sentient beings have the chance to discover the Dharma and eventually attain the unsurpassed complete enlightenment.